Hello everyone, and I recently read this book, and they will tell you that it is a monster romance and that she does some with an inhuman merman, and that has something in common with a shark, and sharks don't have two hearts. Now, that's how they get you, and it's something that's shocking and risque. So what they don't tell you, it's actually a really good book. Like, I really enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought I was going to. I was kind of irritated about how much I enjoyed this book. The reason being is that it actually has a really good plot. Now, I don't know what I was expecting. So I read this one in April, and honestly, April was just such a busy, hard month for me. I only read like 1 or 2 books, and this was like it. So whenever I read it and decided to pick it up, I wanted something really easy because I went to like 2 different classes for continuing ed. I had booths at events for the spring, and I was like working almost every weeknight until like 9 p.m. because I hate myself sometimes. I was still reading a lot of books from March already in April, and I didn't actually finish them until like the end. I was also chipping away at The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan because that's a series I've really enjoyed. And I was feeling really drained. And that's why I picked up Whispers of the Deep by Emma Hamm, because it was all over my For You page on TikTok. I love The Little Mermaid, I love the ocean, and I was really tired. I was expecting something easy, frivolous, and just very mindless. I thought I was going to get like a mindless book. That's what I really wanted at the time. Or at least that's what I thought. It is on Kindle Unlimited, and that is how I read it. I do have one, so I was like, oh, well, I need to make sure I use it this month because I tried to read at least 2 or 3 books on Kindle Unlimited to make sure like it makes sense for me to have it. So humans have destroyed the world on the surface, and the next place that they go is to the ocean, except the ocean already is inhabited by merpeople, which they call Undine. So pretty cool. Here's the actual little bit from Amazon. I'll pick up my trusty dusty iPad and read it to you. One of the many engineers that keep Beta, the city under the sea, running, Mira only wants to make her family proud and to prove herself worthy. Blah, 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 blah. We're just gonna start all that over. And here's a little blip from Amazon, actually, that I'll read to you guys really quick so you get the idea of what the book actually is and if that sounds interesting. One of the many engineers that keep Beta, the city under the sea, running, Mira only wants to make her family proud. And to prove herself worthy, she knows the mysterious city better than anyone, and it is her dream to help it flourish. But then, on a solo job, in an abandoned section of the city, she encounters a monster of legend, an Undine, a dangerous merman from an ancient civilization long forgotten. Okay, I'll just tell you this. Not really. That is one part of the book whenever I was reading the little blip of it, is I thought, well, that was not really true. Because I guess whenever the humans first went down, they didn't really know about the Undine, but they're really bothersome. Like, they are constantly at each other all the time fighting. So Mira's not completely unknown to them. This might have been the first time she's seen one IRL for her, but they've definitely been around, for her at least. Argus has fought his entire life for his people. With deadly creatures under his control, he plans to eradicate Beta once and for all to protect his kind and their peaceful way of life. And when a human woman saves him, she unknowingly creates a bond between them, one that he can't ignore. Even though her flaming red hair haunts his dreams, he needs her information on the Undine's enemies. So he steals her, he feeds her, only to realize that their bond is far deeper than the captor and captive. He cannot let her go, but he cannot keep her under the sea. In a battle to determine if love can survive a war beneath the waves, it will be their decision to change the tides. So, is this like a Beauty and the Beast retelling? Not really. There are some elements that remind me of Beauty and the Beast, but this is a true kidnapping, because whenever Argus actually kidnaps Mira, the people don't even look for her, I think. They assume that either, yeah, she got kidnapped by an Undine, or she got swept away by the tide. So they just kind of check her off and let her go. It does have some enemies to lovers, forced proximity, and forbidden love. It's got a nice little dash of all that, and it makes it a really good story. The city itself has a lot of classism I saw that was really interesting, because she lives in Beta, which is like where like a lot of the scientists, engineers live, and then Alpha is like where like more of the wealthy folk live. But there are people in Beta that are pretty wealthy. It's just, you know, there's a lot of classism, because even then she goes into a little bit like what her childhood was like in Underneath the Sea, because she lived with like maybe a porthole to look out onto the sea and stuff, like big gaping windows and stuff in it. She lived there with her mom and her father while they were still living, and her. So it's like 3 people in like a super small apartment. The Undine, as we know, words are hard for me, and I'm so glad I'm doing this every time. Anyways, the Undine attack the city, and they are more of a primitive type of creature, because they don't have as much technology as like high-tech technology as like the humans do. They call the humans the Chromos. They call them that. And they attack the cities, trying to destroy like the air tanks that they use and the cleaned water tanks that they use. When they first meet, this gets a little bit spoily, not too bad in my opinion, but a little bit. Whenever they first meet, Argus actually tries to drown Mira in a big room that she's looking at. This is like the first couple chapters. It does move pretty quickly. I really enjoyed that. Whenever he does kidnap her for a little bit, he brings her food, some fresh water, and a robot. And then with that robot, she puts in a neurotransmitter into Argus's head, to where he learns English. Now the robot at this time is still trying to figure out the Undine language, which is kind of hard whenever it's like only one person. So some other things happen. She does move. This is like where it would really pick up the pace. I really enjoyed it. Like, I really enjoyed this book. It was just so much fun. I loved Argus and Mira's relationship, because they start out just kind of hating each other. Mira is like checked out in some capacity, because she's like, well, I know my people are not going to look for me. They're not going to try to come after me. I don't know a ton. My goal is just like to try to survive the best I can. Mira does feel guilty about what the humans have done in her area, because with Argus, she sees so much more of the sea. She sees some beautiful, stunning things, and Emma does a wonderful job describing that to where you feel like you're there, and that is my favorite thing always. Love that so much. And I'll be honest, she it was not looking good for Mira at all, because the deep pressure underneath the sea really started messing with her. She's constantly in a damp and wet stuff, and her lungs start developing. It sounded like she started developing some sort of pneumonia, respiratory infection. Emma showed a really great way about how the human body really needs it, because Mira was starting to have some major malnutrition. She was having some vitamin D deficiency with her joints, and it sounded really painful while we were describing it. Like, she did a really good job of like the struggle Mira was having of just being underneath the sea. Like, I was really thinking that this might be a book of, like, the rest of the book would be Argus trying to either take revenge on, or I guess not even revenge, but like it was just gonna be like Argus like living the rest of his life, or like trying to figure this out. I didn't know she's gonna live or not. Like, it was like one of those books where I'm like, man, this is looking super rough for her. How are we gonna fix this? How's this gonna happen? Argus and Mira really had to learn about each other. I really enjoyed how we did that, because you don't get like a ton of spice to begin with, because they both think of each other as very just this is not natural, just very unnatural. This is not really great. We shouldn't do this. And also because for a portion of the book, whenever Argus has like the neurotransmitter that he learns, he understands English now, but Miras didn't understand his Undine language. She did get the robot to like 70% of like the language she put it in. She didn't tell Argus that she did that for a little bit, and Argus said some naughty things and she understood it, and it was just like, oh man, that's kind of fun. Like it started getting there. The spices kind of slowed build up, and it really is such a good book. I just really enjoyed it. It's like, honestly, it might be one of my favorite romances. Even though it's like, everyone's like, oh, it's the spicy monster romance. I'm like, technically, yeah, but I kind of read it for the relationship. Like, that's what kept me going. Like, the stakes in the book felt so high. It truly felt life or death. It felt like this maybe wasn't gonna work and they were both gonna not be there. So that happens. The spice, I've definitely read spicier things, so that's where I'm at. I didn't mind it too much. I really liked the build-up. I think the sci-fi and the fantasy elements were really good. Like, I really enjoyed this book. It was so much fun. The spice was pretty effectively built up. There's a little bit of pining and just kind of like apprehension with it, like making it work. How do we do this? Stuff like that. Really, really good. On Kindle, it says it's 381 pages, so take that, I don't know how many words it is. So it is decently sized. It is bigger than I thought it was going to be whenever I first picked it up. I'm not mad at that because it was still a really good book, and it was just such a solid plot. The romance was solid. It didn't feel completely forced. Like, you got to see both point of views. You see Mira's and Argus's. And I do like that as ends. The book ends with like the build up to the next book, Song of the Abyss, which is Dario's, which is Argus's brother, and Anya, set in the city of Alpha. So that comes out in September 4th. Yeah, it comes out September 4th, so I definitely will be reading it. If you guys give this one a try or have read it, please let me know. I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.